There is a point on the spiritual path where something inside you shifts so profoundly that you can't go back to the way things used to be. You awaken, not in some dramatic external way, but deep within your perception, your priorities, your sense of meaning. The world that once made sense begins to dissolve, and what used to drive you no longer has the same pull. The hunger for validation, the chase for money, the obsession with being somebody. It all begins to feel hollow, and in that hollow space, confusion creeps in. You wonder what's wrong with you, why the fire you once had has gone out, why you don't care about the things everyone around you seems to still be chasing. You feel numb, maybe even lost. And it's not depression, not exactly. It's something quieter, subtler, like your soul is in transition and your mind hasn't caught up yet. You didn't lose motivation, you lost illusion. The illusion that the world out there could give you something to complete you. The illusion that applause equals worth, that money equals freedom, that success equals happiness. And now, without those illusions pushing you forward, you stand still. Not because you've failed, but because you're finally honest. The mask has cracked, the story has ended, and there's no going back to pretending it still works. The goals that once kept you going, fame, wealth, recognition, feel strangely distant. They haven't disappeared, but they've lost their grip. You can see through them now. You see the emptiness behind the curated images and perfect lives. You see the suffering hidden behind the highlight reels. And most of all, you see yourself for who you really are when no one's watching and no one's applauding. That raw version of you, stripped of ambition for ambition's sake, is the beginning of your real life. This space you're in, this quiet, uncertain space, is sacred. It is the in-between. It's the shedding of old skin before the new one forms. But it feels like loss, because it is. You are grieving the identity you built based on what others told you mattered. You are grieving the self you performed in order to be loved, respected, and seen. And now that self is fading, and you're left with something terrifying, truth. The truth that you don't know who you are outside of the hustle. The truth that you don't know what you want without someone telling you what's impressive. The truth that you've never really asked your soul what it came here to do. And that truth is the doorway. It doesn't feel like progress. It doesn't feel like growth. But it is. Because only when everything false falls away can what's real begin to emerge. So here you are, awake, disoriented, demotivated. Not because you're lazy, but because your soul is no longer interested in playing games it knows are rigged. You've outgrown the chase, you've outgrown the performance. And yet, you haven't quite stepped into the next version of yourself. That's why it feels so uncomfortable. Because this part of the journey doesn't come with a guidebook. It's not on the vision board. It's not in the self-help bestseller. It's in you. In the part of you that's never been commodified, never been trained to impress, never been conditioned to seek permission. And that part of you, the real you, isn't motivated by the things your ego was. It doesn't care about clout. It doesn't need attention. It doesn't chase status. It simply wants to create, to express, to give, to love, to grow. But that kind of motivation isn't loud. It doesn't roar. It whispers. And if you've been running on high-speed ambition your whole life, you may not recognize it at first. You may dismiss it because it feels too quiet, too simple, too slow. You are being reprogrammed, not by the world, but by your soul. The old operating system is no longer compatible with your awareness, and so your mind is searching for its old sources of fuel, competition, validation, external goals, but they don't ignite you anymore. You try to push yourself like before, but nothing moves. You try to hype yourself up, but nothing clicks. That's not failure, that's transformation, because something more enduring, more rooted, more aligned is trying to grow. But before it can grow, you must let go. Let go of the timelines, let go of the comparisons, let go of the pressure to be productive even in your healing. This isn't the part of your life where you crush it. This is the part where you dissolve, where the ego steps aside and your soul steps forward. And that transition is uncomfortable because the world celebrates outcomes, not inner revolutions. But make no mistake, this is the most important chapter of your life. This is where you stop being who they told you to be and start becoming who you truly are. Your lack of motivation is not a problem. It is a sign, a sacred signal. You've reached the edge of the old world and the new one hasn't yet formed. That's why everything feels like fog. You're walking through the unknown. You're no longer asleep, but you're not yet fully awake either. You're between stories, between selves, between lives. The discomfort you feel is not a flaw, it's feedback. It's your soul saying, we're done pretending. Let's do something real now. But real doesn't mean flashy. Real doesn't mean Instagrammable. Real means messy. Real means deep. Real means listening to the quiet truth that's been drowned out by noise your whole life. That quiet truth may not tell you to start a business or launch a brand. It may tell you to rest, to go outside, to write something honest, to have a hard conversation, to stop pretending. And it may not make you rich, but it will make you whole. And that wholeness, that's the new fuel. That's the new motivation. But it grows slowly. It emerges in stillness. It's built in moments of solitude, not spectacle. So if you find yourself waking up and feeling lost, good. You're not doing life wrong. You're doing life real. The old world is based on performance, but the awakened life is based on presence, and presence takes practice. It's not glamorous, it's not viral, but it's true. And truth has a power no amount of hustle can fake. Eventually your soul will start to speak louder. You'll start to feel sparks again. But they won't be for what used to excite you. They'll be for things that feel meaningful, purposeful, deeply connected. You may find yourself drawn to simplicity, to nature, to creativity, to relationships that feel nourishing instead of impressive. You'll start saying no more easily. You'll start walking away from things that drain you, even if they once defined you. And that's not giving up. That's waking up. You don't need to force motivation to return. You need to give yourself permission to be here, in this in-between space, without rushing to escape it. Let the silence recalibrate you. Let the stillness rebuild you. Trust that this pause is not punishment. It is preparation. You're not lazy. You're listening. You're not stuck. You're shifting. You're not broken. You're breaking open. And what comes next will be different. It won't look like the dream board version of success. It may not impress your old circle, but it will feel honest. It will feel clean. It will feel like peace. Not the peace that comes from escaping discomfort, but the peace that comes from finally coming home to yourself. So don't mourn your lost motivation. Celebrate the space it created. That space is where your real purpose will be born, not the purpose that gets applause, the purpose that gives you life. You are not who you used to be, and that's a blessing. You're not driven by fear anymore. You're being pulled by truth, and that truth may lead you down an uncharted path, but it's yours, and that makes it sacred. You are in the chrysalis. You are dissolving, and it's scary, but it's also beautiful. Because when the time is right, when the silence has done its work, you will emerge, not as the old you with a new goal, but as the truest version of yourself, ready to live from the inside out. And when that day comes, your motivation will return, but it won't be frantic. It won't be desperate. It won't be about proving anything. It will be calm. It will be clear. And it will be powerful, because it will be rooted in who you truly are. You haven't lost your fire, you've just outgrown the things that used to ignite it. Now, you're waiting for the match that lights up your soul. And when it comes, it won't just motivate you, it will transform everything. You are not behind, you are not broken, you are awakening. Let that be enough.